Good morning. Welcome for practice. We are going to be exploring this morning through the endocrine system and what I sometimes refer to as the corkscrew method, which means we're going to go from the top down. So starting actually at the crown chakra and moving our way down through the endocrine system. And then we'll go back up in what I sometimes call the barber pole method, because that red and white stripe thing on the barber pole, it could go up or down, but you can think of it as we're going to go down first, and then we're going to return back up for meditation at the end. So please take a comfortable seat and find your place where you feel at ease and grounded. You can rest your hands in your lap if you like. And you can begin with some just appreciation and gratitude that we get to arrive here together. Set aside whatever would be a distraction for you during your practice, and concentrate your attention into the central channel of the body. So that plumb line between the pelvic floor and the crown of your skull, on which the chakras are sitting. And you can start breathing up and down that central plumb line. I'd like you to imagine one of my other favorite images is this lighthouse presence that we are. So if you were to imagine the interior of the lighthouse, you have to climb to get to the light at the top, climb through a spiral staircase. If you imagine that your lighthouse has windows at each of the chakras, just check and see how much light is there? How much connection do you have from the base moving upward to the crown? Or perhaps today the lights feel a little bit dim, or there's a sense that some are more dull or dim than others. Of course, on some days you might arrive for your practice and everything feels kind of fogged in. Other days you might feel like it's a really clear sky and the light easily comes through. Right now we're noticing, for the purpose of kind of gathering information. We aren't evaluating, we're not planning a kind of attack on the situation, simply observing. And if things are less than harmonious or luminous in this lighthouse body that you are, you could just ask, what have your contributions been to that? Where are the places in your daily life where maybe you're overindulging or undercommitting to certain self-care practices, or perhaps your schedule needs a little adjustment. Perhaps there's a long-term habit that you know kind of dulls a part of your well-being, but you keep doing it. And perhaps there are things that you could easily do to support your well-being, but somehow they fall off your radar screen. And then with all of that, of course, acknowledge that you're here this morning. You're here for practice. So let's see what we can do to find our way down through the glands of the endocrine system, and then find our way back up through this lighthouse where perhaps the lights will feel like they've all come back on. And please bring your hands together at your heart. And we'll chant the Asatoma Satgamaya. And let's begin. Om Asatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Asatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Asatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. And with your exhale, you may bow your head to your heart. And then release your hands, please, and open your eyes. We're going to start from the top down. We're going to start with a practice called hair pulling. So I'm going to ask you to take the hair at the front, and you can reach for it, and you're going to hold and then twist and pull up. You can also turn your head. So this is a scalp massage, actually. We're using hair pulling to massage the scalp. If you don't have a lot of hair, you can massage the scalp or do your best to reach for little bits of hair and do your scalp massage. And reach for the two sides near the temples and the eyebrows. Pull up. And again, turn the head, rock your head side to side, front to back, up and down. And then reach for the sides near the ears. And as you pull up, you can also again turn, twist. You can do it, of course, in your comfort level. This is not meant to be painful, but rather to massage the scalp, to bring some awakening. Then reach for behind the ears. Sometimes when people have headaches, for example, this is a nice way to give a self-treatment. Reach to the back of the head. And it's often the case that we don't realize how tight the scalp has become. Okay, so now I'm going to ask you to gather as much hair as you can to the top from all angles. And then as you hold that, pull up and rotate your head. So you're really at the crown chakra there. Do what feels comfortable and nourishing. And then release. And now taking the fingers, we're just going to massage going from the front to the back. Okay, and then using your fingers, come to the forehead so that we're going to tap from the hairline down to the eyebrows. And then tap over to the temples. And then tap lightly, very lightly across the upper eye socket. And then down across the lower eye socket. Now come back to all four fingers and we can do the cheeks. Go ahead and include the sides of the nose. And over to the hinge of the jaw. And along the upper lip. That place below the nostrils. Hinge of the jaw. Along the lower lip. The center of the chin. And then down the sides of the neck. And sometimes I like to switch my hands so it's easier across the hands. And down to the collarbones. These are just light taps. You're not harming yourself. This is self-appreciation, self-care. And now the last thing we'll do for the head at this time is reach up with your thumbs to the insides of the ears, fingers behind the ears, and you can massage the earlobes. I'm at the top of the earlobe. That's a good place to start. And then you can also pull the earlobes out a little bit, go to the middle of the earlobes. And then switch your hands so the index fingers are inside and the thumbs are on the back side. And then we can pull down on the earlobes, the place where you might wear earrings if you're someone who wears earrings. Okay, and then pause and just notice what's happening, your head, face, neck. Okay, so let's switch now to kneeling and come to Vajrasana. You're probably going to want to face the long side of your yoga mat. And I'll turn as a profile view also. So this is a practice of coming to the crown of the skull. It's called rabbit pose. So if you normally wear a hair clip or something else, you might want to take that off because you could break it, or at the very least, it's going to be painful. So I'd like you to have a little space behind you for this Purvottanasana variation. But I really want you to have the space in front of you for rabbit pose. Okay, so we're going to begin here, palms together at the heart. And then inhale the palms forward and up. And then exhale and bow forward. Use the low belly to slow your descent. This is called pranam. Inhale, raise back up like an arrow. Exhale, press your arms wide. Bring the hands down behind you. Inhale to Purvottanasana. This is a variation. And then exhale, keeping the hands near your feet. Come down to child's pose. And then inhale, roll to the top of your head. And exhale, return to kneeling. Your hair might be hanging in your face like mine is. Now, when we roll forward from child's pose, one thing I want to say that you probably couldn't see because you're not looking at the camera. When I come down to child's pose and then roll forward, I put my hands under my ankles. So the hands are bound there. And that means that when you're rolling up to rabbit pose, it's a relatively firm pose, right? You're trying to get pressure to the top of the head, but you're also looking for the rabbit shape of the torso. Okay, let's do it again. Palms together at the heart. And then inhale, down, forward, and up. And exhale, come down. This is called pranam. Inhale, raise back up. And then exhale, sweep your arms wide, bring your hands down, the fingers point towards your feet. Inhale to open the chest. Exhale, come forward to child's pose. Hands near your feet. Inhale, roll up to rabbit pose. Exhale, roll down and rise up to kneeling, palms in your lap. And again, palms at the heart, Anjali Mudra. Inhale, down, forward and up. Exhale, fold forward. Do your best to keep your hips on your heels, so you are using your abdominal muscles to come down. Inhale, raise back up. Exhale, sweep out. Turn your fingers to point towards you. Inhale to open. Exhale, come forward and down to child's pose. Hands near your feet. Inhale, roll up to rabbit pose. And exhale, hips to your heels. Come up to Vajrasana. Rest your hands in your lap. Now we're going to include the Sphinx pose and some movement for the upper throat, neck, and shoulders. So in the length you have on your mat, of course, if you go off your mat, there's no alligators there. Bring your palms together. Inhale forward, up. Exhale, pranam. Put your elbows down. Inhale, roll into cat pose. Exhale, come into cow pose. Inhale to cat pose. Exhale, pranam. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, arms wide. Bring the hands down so your fingers point towards your feet. Inhale to open. Exhale, child's pose. Inhale, rabbit pose. Exhale, roll your hips to your heels. Raise your arms up. Inhale. And now exhale, come down to pranam. Inhale, cat pose. Exhale, cow pose. And inhale to Sphinx pose. Exhale, Makrasana. Inhale, Sphinx. Exhale, Makrasana. Inhale to Sphinx. And exhale, Makrasana. Now in this Makrasana, stack your forearms instead of your hands and rest your head on the back of the arms so that you can roll your forehead side to side and roll across the stress receptors in your forehead. You could imagine that you're giving a massage to the forehead. You're also signaling the pineal gland about being restful or tranquil. And the next time that you roll to center, go ahead and pause there. And notice the feeling tone of the mind. And then please shift up to your elbows and walk your elbows forward so that you can put your index finger behind your earlobes. And lift the base of your skull up off of your neck. Allow yourself to breathe pretty deeply here. You have a capacity for the breath here that you don't have in Makrasana. So this is a full thoracodiaphragmatic breath. So notice the breath in a three-dimensional way. So even though there's a capacity for a full diaphragmatic breath, I don't want you to strain for that. You could imagine that you're breathing in first to the low pelvis, and there you have the organs of reproduction, elimination. Then you're breathing into the mid-abdomen, and then to the upper abdomen, including the back of your waist, the kidneys, the adrenals, up into the heart, the lungs, the thymus. And perhaps you'll sense even a little bit of the in-breath makes it up to the throat. And then exhale thoughtfully. Place your hands beneath your shoulders now and press up to table pose. Okay, in this table pose, we're going to work now with the throat, the neck, and shoulders, and some variations on things that would look like thread the needle pose and will eventually become that. So let's start simply. Take your right hand well ahead of your left hand. Reach back with your left elbow to the floor. And as you stretch your hips back, you're not in child's pose. It's more like puppy dog pose. Now, from where you are, you can keep the left elbow as a support on the floor. Touch your right elbow down, bend that elbow, and place your hand on your right shoulder to the best of your ability. Turn your head to your left. And then reach back with both hips. And we do want the right elbow to be secure on the floor. And you can kind of roll a little bit to your right into the sideways and the side of the chest. Place your left hand on the floor for support if keeping your left elbow down is not sufficient. Okay, and then release your right hand back to the floor, left elbow back to the floor, roll your head to center, and return to table pose. Now step the left hand well forward of your right. Reach back with your hips, drop the right elbow down. Let's lower the head and turn it to your right at the start here. And breathe into the side torso. Touch your left elbow down, bend your left elbow so that your hand comes towards your left shoulder. And you can roll a little bit into the left hemisphere of the body. For some of you, it's going to be more comfortable to place your right hand on the floor now instead of your right elbow. The chin does come in towards the throat. For me, I'm nearly to the back of my head, so just naming that, not that you have to do it, but you are behind. You're not really on the side of the head and not totally on the back of the head, but behind the line of the ear. I mean, to the best of your ability. Roll that back to center and then press up to table pose and sit back to Vajrasana, the thunderbolt pose. And observe where there's energy in your body, what's happening. And so in this region here, first we have the pineal and the pituitary gland. which we address also by being very calm and nourishing and having an attitude of peace or harmony, and not stress or strain, or like somehow we're like a swordfish and we have to get to our life like that. But then we have the thyroid here and the throat. And we're going to do thread the needle pose right now. And I really, really love thread the needle pose. I have a certain way of getting into it. For me, it's a wonderful neck stretch, but it's also a time where you temporarily change the blood pressure between the trunk and the head. And then the release of it, there's a kind of calming effect that comes. That all being said, is not everyone's favorite pose. So let's do a version of thread the needle that gets the upper back ready. And so you can then imagine you're also addressing the thymus, which is here in the chest. So if you'll come to table pose, hands and knees pose, and then take your left hand under your right, put the back of your left hand down, the back of the wrist, the back of your forearm, the back of the shoulder. Hopefully the shoulder reaches the floor. If your shoulder does not reach the floor, please put a blanket for your shoulder and make sure your head is also supported. Now take your right hand onto your left hand and press down on it. So this is a twist in the upper back, but also you can feel it in the belly. Hopefully both knees are still touching the floor, and your hips should be relatively centered at the moment. Let's take a deep breath in. And then exhale, return your right hand to a support position, come up to table pose. Now take the right hand under, reach across. As you come under, you may want your shoulder supported by a blanket or your head supported by a blanket. Once you're settled, take your left hand onto your right hand and press down. You can twist into the upper back and try to keep both knees on the floor. Okay, and then place your left hand in a support position, return to table pose. And if you have not done thread the needle with me, please watch before you do it. We're going to step the right foot back to plank pose and then take the left arm down the length of the mat towards the right foot. So it is the back of the hand, back of the forearm, back of the elbow, the back of the shoulder. And then you can walk, your right hand will go around your head like this. And then the right knee is going to come back down into your thread the needle pose. And at that point, you do want to have a sense that both knees are important in the pose. The chin is in towards the throat. Okay, and then stretch the right leg back out to plank pose. Place your right hand where it can be a support to you and press up to table pose. And then take the left leg back to plank pose. Okay, take the right arm down the length of your mat. And that means that you have curved the torso, right? It is a side bend also. Walk your left hand around your head. And then bring the left knee down. Both knees are important. And you do want to be towards the back of your head to the best of your ability. The chin is in towards the throat. And then take the left leg back out to plank pose and come into table pose. And then to Vajrasana. And let's again take notice of how things are feeling when you come into Vajrasana. And in Vajrasana, you might sense where there's energy in the lighthouse now, and recognizing we're kind of corkscrewing, as I said, from the top down. Let's come down now to the chest and heart, the thymus, and then also into the adrenals. So please lie on your stomach. Reach back and interlace your fingers. Roll the shoulders up away from the floor. And then as you inhale, raise up to Salambhasana by lifting the back of your shoulders and the base of your skull. As you exhale, come down and rotate your head to the right. Inhale, raise up, head to center. Exhale, come down, turn your head to your left. Inhale, raise up, head to center. Exhale down, turn your head to your right. Again, rise up. Exhale, head to your left, come down. And inhale to rise up. Exhale, release. Make a pillow of your hands to rest your head down. And then notice the breath moving into the back of the waist. And picture the back waist there, your kidneys, your adrenals. And the breath really sending a message of appreciation for those tiny adrenal glands that work so hard. Let them know that right now you're practicing being harmonious and grounded, at peace. You might also alert the adrenals that there's no urgency or competition. There's no strife or strain. Now take your right hand out to the side, palm face down. Place your left hand under your left shoulder. Without your right shoulder poking down towards the floor, bend your knees and rotate your right. So you're going to stretch the upper right chest, right shoulder, right arm. The thoracic spine gets a twist. Roll the right shoulder up away from the floor so it's not pressing down into your mat. It's not just subject to the whims of the pose. And then exhale, roll back to center. Take the left arm out to the side. Take your right hand under your right shoulder and rotate your body to your left. Again, the left shoulder should not feel like it's poking down into the floor. You actually want to make a deliberate effort to roll your shoulder up off of the floor so it's not having that pressure, and the shoulder joint is going to be more stable that way. And then exhale and come down to center. Okay, now we're going to do an unusual practice. So first, let's go back to Makrasana. I'm sorry, I got excited. I was talking ahead of myself. Come back to Makrasana. This is to breathe into your kidneys and your adrenals. Okay, now for the unusual practice. This is not one of my favorite practices, but I think it's really helpful. It's also a very classic experience in yoga. I broke my left elbow twice as a kid doing adventuresome things in gymnastics. So this has been an uncomfortable pose for me for a long time. So I'm going to give you the adaptation that I prefer to do. You're going to make two fists, one with each hand, of course, and then the fists go under. They go in the lower abdomen between your hip bones. Okay, now you're supposed to put your chin on the floor forward. And then inhale, raise just your right leg. Exhale, lower that down. Inhale, raise your left leg. Exhale, lower that down. And then inhale, raise both legs. And exhale, lower that down. Try it again. Inhale, right leg. And lower. Inhale, left. Lower down. And inhale both. And lower down. Okay, one more time, please. Right, left, and both. And then release your hands from there. Place them back in Makrasana. And breathe into the kidneys and the adrenals. And now please place your hands beneath your shoulders. Press up to table pose. Curl your toes under and reach high into downward facing dog pose. So that practice that we were just doing, the one I said I was giving you an alternative, a variation, that of course is for the lower belly and for the organs of procreation, specifically for elimination organs as well. So that might have been uncomfortable. Appreciate yourself for making the effort. Please walk your hands and feet towards each other and come into Uttanasana. And then place your hands on your hips and rise up to standing. Okay, take a wide stance. So you've been down through the process now. We have a little more work to do in these lower regions with the adrenals are on the back side, pancreas is on the front side. Of course, you have the organs of digestion, also stomach, small intestine, large intestine. We have the organs of procreation and elimination. So in terms of the endocrine system, its friend, it's a close friend is the digestive system. So we're going to do a practice now, coming down to something easeful, but I'm going to have you interlace the fingers when you're back there. And not everyone's shoulders do that well. That's a good time to reach for a yoga strap. Okay, so come on down to Prasarita Padottanasana. As you come down, reach back to interlace your fingers. Roll the shoulders open. Squeeze the upper back with your shoulder blades and relax the weight of your head. We want the neck to feel free here. And as you squeeze the upper back, then on your inhale, lift your back waist, your kidneys, your adrenals, your heart, and then look forward. And on the exhale, bow deeply, curling the lower belly in first, and then zip the belly up towards the solar plexus with a good strong squeeze. And then inhale, lift your back waist, your kidneys, your adrenals, like they're floating on the ocean. The heart comes forward, open your throat. And then exhale to bow deeply towards your legs and zip the low belly in and up. And do that once more, please. So we aren't relying on an overarching of the lower back in this activity. You're actually relying on your hip strength to bring the torso forward and then to lower it back down. Okay, please release the clasp of your hands. Place your hands up on your hips and rise up to standing. Now turn the toes out and come down into the jazz dance warm-up pose. Press out with the inner thighs just to get the structure to be stable, right? It's not that your inner thighs are going to be that important to your digestion, but do make the structure stable. The endocrine system, the digestive system, they're in the subtle body, more dense and subtle, we say, whereas the musculoskeletal body is your dense body. Be friends with it, take care of it. So as you're pressing out with the knees, gaze down towards the floor. And let's begin to breathe. So you're really aware of inhaling to the pelvic floor, and then the organs of elimination and procreation. And then breathe into the mid-abdomen, into the kidneys and the adrenals on the back, pancreas on the left, liver on the right, spleen on the left, gallbladder on the right, the stomach in the middle. The inhale goes up the heart, the thymus, even the back of the heart. And the exhale begins also at the pelvic floor and rises up. And you can imagine that you're massaging the internal organs during the inhale and during the exhale. The diaphragm goes down on inhale and rises back to the mid-torso on exhale. So in both directions, there's a feeling of a massage. And now press into both heels and please rise up to standing. And let's go toes, heels, come to mountain pose, please. So there you could sense the breath. We deliberately are bringing it from the base up. So that kind of the journey of the lighthouse coming back up. Just notice what's happening for you. And then come down to Vajrasana, to kneeling. And we're going to use a little bit more of the interior of the practice now. There's a practice called Karmasana or Korma Mudra. I just want to tie my hair off my face so I won't be distracted. Now that we don't have fear of breaking the hair clips. So in this practice, you're going to be placing your fists again in the low belly. And when we come forward, which is during the exhale, you're going to want to be able to place your head on a block, a blanket, or the floor. And when we're down there in that position, we'll have completed the exhale. And as that's complete, you're then going to totally relax without inhalation. You have to relax the belly muscles to be there. And you're not inhaling, so you release the abdominal muscles that made the exhale, but you maintain the sort of absence of the breath. And there's going to be an internal suction that happens in the low belly. And that suction is going to give a massage to these inner organs here in the low abdomen. It also comes into the mid-abdomen, and it has a calming effect for the mind. So let's try it with this is contraindicated, of course, if you're pregnant or you have your menstrual cycle. Also, if you have a hiatal hernia. So place the fists in the low belly. Please put a block or two on the floor in front of you if you need them. And then let's inhale together, but from here, we're going to exhale at our own length and we'll be at our own pace. You'll exhale to come forward. We do want the head to be supported, and then you're going to hold the breath out while relaxing the belly muscles. You always inhale to come up at your own pace. And then exhale to resume, also at your own pace. You may take a break between repetitions of the breath. You may go consistently one to the next. We'll do one more. I'd like you to complete that in Vajrasana, in simple kneeling. And quietly observe the sort of feeling tone of your body in the interior. You might also notice your mind. And then reach for a bolster or a blanket to sit on, please. And I'm going to ask you to put it under your right hip. So only under the right hip. So from kneeling, put your hips to the right, like this. Yeah, like this, like a sideways sit. This is a pose called Bharadvajasana. We're going to take the back of the left hand to the outside of the right thigh in a moment, and it's going to be fixed there. So you'll see that. It's going to cause a side bend and a twist. And then we're going to be able to take the head opposite of that twist. So you can imagine that for a few moments, your lighthouse is like a Salvador Dali painting. It's kind of, melting around itself. So take the back of the left hand and fix it to the outside of the right thigh. The bolster or blanket can help you to keep your hand there. So that's already caused this side bend to your left, opening the right side, the ascending colon for you guys. This is my left side. Twist to your right. Walk your right hand around the small of your back. Side bend to your left to keep the right hip grounded. As you twist the right shoulder and chest to your right, now allow the left ear to get heavy and rotate your head down towards the floor. So you could picture inside that you've got this side bend, squeezing the descending colon, opening the ascending colon. You also have a twist influencing the organs in the abdomen as well as in your thoracic spine. And you rotated your head, you're gazing down towards the floor. A second twist. And then please inhale and slowly rise back up to sitting. Pause and recalibrate. And then take your blanket or your cushion to the other side. You'll secure the back of the right hand around the outside of the left thigh. Okay, and again, there's going to be a side bend inherent in that, and that side bend goes to your right. Twist to your left, wrap the left arm around the small of your back. And allow the right ear to get heavy as you twist your chest to your left. Turn your gaze down towards the floor. You can picture inside that you're now squeezing the ascending colon, opening the descending colon, twisting to the left with the inner belly, but twisting to your right with your head and neck. And then please rise back up to sitting. And again, notice you can just let the recalibration happen. And now I'd like you to have two blocks. Lie on your back with your knees bent, please. And let's take the two blocks in preparation for supported bridge pose. So in supported bridge pose, I personally tippy toe to get into position because I don't have very long legs. And the blocks are all one size. So then you can place the feet flat on the floor and come into this bridge pose. Roll the shoulders down, lift your heart up. The chin does come in towards the throat. So this is addressing the thymus and the thyroid. Take your gaze down and in. So the eyes are quiet. You can encourage the inward nature of the mind. Now, of course, if two blocks is too high, you always have permission to use only one. And you could use one on the medium setting or one on the flat setting. So you adapt to your body's needs. Though this is a supported pose, I'd like you to make the shoulders active as well as your shoulder blades. Lift your heart up and draw the chin down. If it's appropriate for you and does not dysregulate the foundation of your pose, that's head, shoulders, and arms, then you could choose to take the right knee in and the right leg straight up. You could also add the left knee in and the left foot up if the foundation of your pose is not made compromised by that. For some people, the hamstrings won't be so friendly for this position, so it can be helpful to bend your knees so that you do have your feet higher than your knees, knees higher than your hips. This is called candlestick pose or supported candlestick pose. Please keep the shoulders actively pressing down. And then bend both knees and touch one foot to the floor at a time unless you have the internal stabilization to touch both feet down at once. Let's lift the hips and take the blocks, one in each hand. Lower your hips down. Remove any hair clips from the top of the head. Now take one block on the medium setting right behind your head. Take the second block in your hands. Reach past the first block so that now you're going to connect them. And then we're going to actually pull the two blocks towards the crown of the skull. So this is a simulation of headstand. We're not going to do headstand on Zoom together right now, but you can press the two blocks against the top of your head. Now I put one on the medium setting, and then my next block I'm holding also, I've got it on the medium length to hold it because that lets me have my arms straight. You can choose for yourself what makes this feel possible. And you do want to be pulling your shoulder blades down away from your ears. And then press the crown of your skull into the blocks. So it's an active, like bilateral direction. Bidirectional, I should say. And let the legs relax. The abdomen can receive the breath. The activity here is not forceful. Shoulder blades down, crown of the skull up. And then exhale and release. Leave the blocks to lie where they are, and please come to Shavasana. Now, something I really like to do in Shavasana, and I still am recovering from these concussions, so you can take this as you will. I like to wrap my eyes. I think it's also helpful for my pineal and pituitary gland, but that might just be how I talk myself into it. So you're welcome to make a choice that's nourishing for you. And let's rest deeply in the quiet. When your inner body is in balance, there can be a mental quiet that otherwise seems to be eluding us in daily life. So allow the organ system, which you just gave a bath to all these processes, allow that to be restored. Give space for that to happen by not daydreaming, planning, reviewing, or thinking. Only resting, simply resting. And intentionally allow for deep relaxation of your body. Allow yourself to deeply, deeply rest. Neither planning nor reviewing, nor thinking nor daydreaming. To support your mind to rest while your body heals, you might rest your attention on the simple sensation of energy or prana, circulation, innervation, respiration. Again, give permission for the entire body to deeply relax. Now, having been resting, just enjoy a slightly deeper breath in through the nose, out through the nose, and wiggle your fingers and your toes. And bend your knees. If you had your eyes covered, go ahead and uncover them. And please roll to your side. Return to sitting when you can. Check and see how the lighthouse is feeling. Come back to your seat when you can. Let's consider the possibility that you could have deep mental quiet. Meditation could feel natural. Raise your hands to your heart. Thank you for sharing your practice. May we and everyone everywhere be well and kept safe from harm. May we be free from unnecessary pain and suffering. May we have ease and harmony. Loka samasta Sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta Sukhino. Thank you, everyone. Namaste. Now, if these practices are helpful to you, of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel, click like for the videos that help you, so I'll get that feedback, and leave comments or questions down below as well. Thank you once again.